I have just now clicked to start recording this session, so I would also like to let you know that the whole session will be recorded, and whoever needs to leave early, or those who have registered but haven't been able to join in, or those that will join in later will have access to the recording after the session finishes. You all will receive a follow-up email with a link from where the recording can be viewed. So before we begin, and before I welcome Lars of TextMinded, who will give you a short introduction to this session, I would just like to ask one of you or a few of you to confirm that you can see the screen. You should be able to see memsource.com homepage, and also if you can hear me. So if you could use the questions box, I have received a confirmation, so thank you very much. And yes, also please feel free to use the questions box anytime during the webinar to ask questions, and I will try to answer as many as possible on the go as we go through the webinar. And if there's any more complicated questions or issues that I'm not able to address directly, I will follow up on these through email. So now let me try and unmute Lars and see if we can hear him as well. Hello?
Hello, Václav. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, so I think all should be okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Václav. Welcome to all of you. As Václav said, my name is Lars Bjerrum, and I represent TextMinded, where I'm the vendor manager. Most of you should already have been in contact with me, otherwise I will be in contact with you afterwards. I'm very pleased that you are all able to join us today for this webinar. It's a very important step for TextMinded and our collaboration with you guys. We know that there are many time zones represented here today, and we were very happy that we are able to have you all here for this event, even though. As we've already mentioned in the several emails and communications we sent you lately, the reason we're here today is that we at TextMinded consider Memsource a crucial part of our strategy for the future. And actually, we have already started to move our clients and vendors into Memsource and establish a collaboration using the SCAD tool. And we will continue to do so with increased urgency from now on. Actually, it's our strategy to make Memsource our default CAD tools within the year. This is why it's so important for us that we have all of you on board as soon as possible, and that you all know about the many mutual benefits we can achieve from collaborating using Memsource, and especially the benefits we can achieve when all of us have a Memsource cloud subscription where we can share jobs and projects. This will save a lot of time, especially project management time. So here today, I'm pleased that we have our very highly valued business partner from Memsource, Václav.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Václav will tell you about many of these benefits in a minute when he's going to present the project management features.
Okay.
So now, before we begin, I just want to thank you, Václav, for helping me with the preparation for this and for being here today to guide us through this.
Thank you.
So over to you, Václav.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And yeah, I mean, time really flies, and if we are to keep into the limit of 60 minutes for this webinar, I really think we need to get going. And so just a very quick plan. what I would like to show you is how basically a project can be shared. So I have prepared a project that I will show you in a minute, and then I'll show you the whole process, how this project can be shared with the vendor and what needs to be done on the buyer side and on the vendor side, and then what happens with the actual translation process. Now, this is not going to be a general introduction into Memsource, because I believe that a lot of you have already set up a trial, had some basic intro into the system. If not, those of you who would need to get that, I would like to let you know that we have a series of webinar recordings available from our YouTube channel, or we can share them directly with you. So whoever feels they need this specific intro, either for project managers or for linguist users, please feel free to contact us by email, and we will share the resources with you. And also, as part of this joint effort, we would like to offer you the opportunity to contact us individually, and we are really open to set up online sessions with either each of you or groups of you in order to discuss some specific features, questions, issues that you may have. We really want to make sure that you feel comfortable working in Memsource, and that you don't understand this as any kind of pressure put on you. So, if everything is okay, Lars, I will, as I said, I will keep you unmuted. So whenever you feel you would like to say something, comment, put some extra note to what I'm saying, please feel free to do so.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm logging in as a project manager, and I have a project ready. As you can see, it's a project for translation from English into German. We have two files, two HTML files uploaded for translation. We have analyzed the files. We have a translation memory attached and a term base attached. The translation memory is empty. The term base has just one term entered, so that we can see how terminology works in Memsource editors. Now, one of the possible ways to go from here for the project manager would be to assign the translations to linguist users. A linguist user is typically a translator or a reviser who the project owner creates within the account. So that's based on the subscription scheme, which typically is one project manager and 10 linguist users. If the project manager does this, then the job gets assigned to the linguist signs in, gets access to the file or files assigned for translation, and can basically deliver the service. There is almost no, or 100% none, project management opportunities for the linguist. So the linguist cannot use their own translation memories, their own term bases. They cannot run their own analyses. They cannot change the machine translation settings, create workflow steps, anything like that. The purpose of this scenario is really to enable someone, your translator, a linguist user, to access your project and do what you ask them to do. Now, when we introduced this feature, we were asked a lot about, I'm a linguist user, but at the same time I have my own translation memories, I would like to use them. Or I'm a linguist user, but in fact I'm a member of a small team. We're 3 people sort of exchanging work, and we would like to share or participate together in delivering the service. Or also we are a small or large translation team, and we need to have more project management rights on the project created by someone else. And that's why we introduced this concept of project sharing, and we made it possible to for two organizations, separate entities, users of Memsource, to get connected and transfer resources from account to account. First of all, in order for the project manager, where we are now, this is the account, as I say, of a project manager or a translation buyer in our terminology. In order for them to be able to share the project with a vendor, first of all, there needs to be the interconnection, the connection part, which is really simple. If anyone goes to setup, you will see this vendor token. This is your unique code that identifies your organization in the Memsource system. So what needs to be done is you need to take this code and share it with your buyer. You send it by email or other means of communication, and the buyer goes, or in this case it would be TextMinded, of course, they go to setup vendors new, and they will use this vendor token to register you as a vendor. From that moment, the two organizations will be connected, and you as a vendor will start appearing in the list of vendors with whom TextMinded or the translation buyer can share a project. Then the procedure is really simple. TextMinded will click share with vendor, and select the corresponding vendor with whom the project will be shared. Now you see the icon has changed somewhat. This indicates a shared project. Also, we have this new line here indicating that the project has been shared, and an email notification has been sent to the project manager on the vendor's side. Very similar to when a job is assigned to a linguist. If you allow me, just a short side note, and this would be especially for TextMinded project managers who have joined this session. I would just like to show you that if you decide to save this project as a template, the template will actually also include the sharing part of the settings, so you can make use of project templates and even instant quotes in combination with project templates to create projects that will already be shared when created. Good. So now let's move to the vendor's account, which I have opened in Explorer. And as you can see, we have this shared projects appearing in the list of projects in the vendor's account. So now we have the same project. We can put this side by side. So that's the project. On the left is the buyer's view, and on the right is the vendor's view. The vendor will be able to open this project. We'll see both files for translations. For translation, we'll also see the buyer's analysis. We'll also see the buyer's translation memory and term base. But unlike the buyer, the owner of the translation memory and the term base, who have access into the translation memory and can go in and import, export content and search and even edit content of the translation memory, etc. The vendor can't do any of these. The only thing that they can do is see that there is a translation memory attached by the buyer, and will see these two ticks indicating that all translations will be written in the buyer's translation memory, and also obviously that the results from the translation memory will be displayed as translation memory matches. The vendor is now able to attach their own translation memories and their own term bases. So if you have relevant resources that you would like to make use of for this translation, by the way, this is the email notification that was received by the vendor, and as you are well aware, I'm sure this is based on an email template that can be fully customized. So the actual wording of the email is up to the buyer to generate. So back to translation memories. Let me see if I have any relevant translation memory. Okay, let's say I want to use this one as a vendor. So now, as you can see, I will have both translation memories attached in write and read mode as well. You can use up to 10 translation memories in a project, so both the buyer or the vendor can use more translation memories, just like in the normal scenario when the project is not shared. If we refresh the page on the buyer's side now, we will see that the situation is exactly the opposite. So each owner of the resource used for the translation has access to that specific resource, but not to the other party's data. So the buyer will see that the vendor has used their own translation memory, but will not be able to access that translation memory. So we keep privacy in this respect for both parties involved. Let me expand this across the screen. And now the next typical step on the vendor's side would be to assign their own translators, or even, I mean, it's also possible that this project can be further shared with another vendor if that's what you need to do in your process. But typically, this is the end of the chain, and we would now be looking for linguists to be assigned to deliver the translation service. So I am now choosing one of my translators, and I can go the typical way, send an email notification, etc. If we go to the back to the buyer's project, buyer's view, this is what the buyer sees. So that's another important message. The buyer will not see who the translator is. They won't get the actual name of your translator. They will only see that you have assigned the job to a translator, which again is quite important for keeping privacy for the vendor. Now, if I am correct, I will be able to connect here in Chrome as the translator. And the translator, again, is it's the typical way the translator gets the access to the project, to one of the jobs that we assigned to the translator. And the translator, let's now just pretend that we would translate a few segments. Let me use the machine translation. So those of you who actually speak German, please do not judge the quality of the translation, of course. I can just copy source to target for a few segments here to get rid of the tags. And let's just translate 2 more segments. So we're at number 20. And now what happens is really typical for even when you work with non-shared projects. So as you can see, the linguist has confirmed 7% of the content. If we go to the vendor's account, the vendor will get 7% completed. The vendor can go in from their own account and see what has been translated and how that has been translated. You can use the comment, for example, if you need to communicate with other parties involved in the process, etc. If we go to the buyer's account, the buyer gets exactly the same. 7%, again, the buyer can go in the file and can see what has been done so far and how that has been done. Also, the translation memory will get updated correspondingly. Both the translation memories will actually get updated. So if we go and take some content, well, actually BBC, I think, will be definitely in the translation memory. So let's go to the buyer's translation memory and search for BBC, and we will see these 3 segments already stored in the translation memory. If we go to the vendor's account and open the vendor's translation memory and again search for BBC, we will get exactly the same. So the content, the translated content, goes from the linguist's account into the vendor's account and project in the vendor's account and into the project in the buyer's account. Everything is synchronized and happens in real time. The rest of the process is also typical. When we reach 100% in the translation, the translator will change the status to completed. That closes the job for the translator. The vendor will then change the project status to completed, and again this will send a notification to the buyer, and that really closes the whole process. So that's about it. Maybe one more thing. If I, in order not to get lost, I can create a new project here, or let me just create an entirely new project. And what I want to show you is that you can, as buyers, you don't necessarily need to share the whole project, but you can also share individual jobs from your project. So let's make this English into German, and let me upload 2 files for translation. And now we have the same situation like we had before. We can select the existing translation memory, and that would be this one. And now, as I said, instead of sharing the whole project using this button, you can share individual jobs, and you do that in a way that you would assign jobs to your linguist. So you just click to edit, and then in the list of providers, linguists, you also see vendors. So there's a little tooltip to indicate who is who. So these would be linguists, translators, and these are your vendors. So you can do this. And now this job is shared with a linguist. You can assign another job in this project to one of your real linguists, one of your users. And now if we go to the vendor's account and click on projects, we will see this new project appear here with obviously just the one job that was shared with this vendor. So we have two levels of sharing, on a project basis or on a job basis. Otherwise, the rest of the process is really identical. So again, the vendor would go and assign this to their own linguists, use their own translation memories, etc. Okay, so we have about 30 minutes. We're about halfway through the time that we reserved for this webinar, and I still haven't received any questions. So maybe it's time either for Lars to add some more comment at this point, or you to ask questions if there's anything that we haven't covered that you would be interested in, how to do that or this, or if there are any more specific questions. Okay. Maybe before Lars joins in and before questions start to arrive, I would just like to repeat one of the important information that we put in the letter distributed among you, and that was that part of this campaign to promote Memsource among TextMinded vendors is the offer to extend your trial period from the standard 30 days to 60 days. So those of you who haven't yet subscribed to Memsource and have only been trialing, just let us know when you create your account, and we will extend your trial period to 60 days. Okay, so a few questions have already arrived. And Lars, do you have anything to add to this?
Just briefly regarding the trial period, you can just send an email to me, and I'll coordinate the whole thing with Václav in one go. So you can just, if you want to extend it, and I think most of you will.
Yeah, I mean, there's of course no reason not to, so please do make use of this extra 30 days. Yeah, the ability to share projects or accept project sharing is not limited in the trial, and generally there are not really any limitations. So the trial gives you the full feel of what you will get once you start subscribing. Okay, questions. Is it possible from the TextMinded cloud to share a shared project completely? Yes, you can do that. If I am the vendor now and I go into my shared project, I get this share button and I can share this project with more vendors. The fact that I don't get this share with vendor command in here is that from this vendor's account, I haven't yet connected any further vendors. So my list of vendors is empty, and therefore I can't effectively share this project with any vendor because I don't have access to any. But once I register vendors, I will be able to do that. Can the buyer get into direct contact with the vendor's linguist? No, not really. The buyer doesn't see who the linguist is, and there is no way to get in any direct contact unless you make it possible. How can a vendor assign both translation and proofreading jobs? Yes, this would be possible. Actually, this is something that we didn't include in the project setup, but obviously the project can be divided into a couple of workflow steps, and then these workflow steps will appear in your project, and you will be able to assign a different person for the translation task and for the revision task. Also, vendors can add their own workflow steps in addition to what the buyer has selected. Do we have to purchase Memsource license after the trial period? Yes, in order to be able to continue accepting shared projects from TextMinded, you need to purchase your own license of Memsource. It can be, I mean, if we go and look in the editions, we can just search the documentation and you will be able to see, maybe I can share this through the chat box with everyone. This is part of our documentation where project sharing is described in detail. And here you will be able to see who can act as a buyer and who can act as a vendor. So these are the additions that you need to get in order to be able to become a vendor. Basically, it's all additions except for the free personal one. Eva has asked, there seems to be a bug with sharing analysis. When we create a project in Client's Cloud, share it with ours, and then assign individual job with vendors, they cannot access the analysis. This, I'm not entirely sure if I get the process that you described, but the way we designed it, or the way it is intended to be, is that in order to protect vendors and their own resources, if, for example, vendors use their own translation memories and then run analysis, that analysis should not be visible to the translation buyer. So again, if the translation buyer runs an analysis, the vendor will see that analysis, but the other way around, if a vendor runs an analysis, the buyer will not see that analysis. I don't know if this is covered in your situation. If not, then I would like to ask you if you could contact us on Memsource support and send us some details, especially the link to the project. Maybe this is also a good way to remind you that we have a support desk available from the email address support@memsource.com. So again, let me share this in the chat box. And please feel free to contact us anytime with any questions, suggestions, bug reports, or any ideas, feature suggestions, anything really. Okay. There's a question from Annie. Is it possible to add workflow steps in the project after it is created? Yes, of course. So if we go to our project view in the project owner's account, we can open any project really from here, and we click edit, and here we are able to edit and add more workflow steps. So you see that already this project has been created for 2 workflow steps, translation and revision, and we can add any of the existing workflow steps. Maybe it's also good to mention here that workflow steps is something that you can create and customize for your own account. Under setup, you will see workflow steps where when you set up your account by default, you will get 3 steps, I think. But you can edit these, you can delete, add new ones. You have this abbreviation, which is then used in Memsource editors to identify the step, and you can reorder your steps in any way. Katrin says you can't add a step earlier than the one already there. That's true. That is true. So if, for example, I go, and that's quite a limitation, which it's good, Catherine, that you have mentioned this. Thank you very much, because it can lead to some confusion. If we open this project and we click Edit and we click Workflow Steps and we add Translator Review without actually selecting the previous one, if we save this project like this and then click Edit again and we want to add some more workflow steps or edit, we won't be able to work with this one. That really gets locked. It has many reasons, and technically it's really impossible to make this possible. So you can only add one of the later steps. But because this is so flexible, we believe that you can sort of add some intermediary steps, or create this whole structure so that it is flexible, and there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to add 2 more steps if you forget to make use of any previous one. In the last resort, the last option, if you really make this a mess, would be to create a new project, of course. Is there a preview function to check the actual file, and can the linguist work offline as well, or does he need to be online always to be able to work in the file? Live preview is not available, but we have a preview in that it is possible from the translation editor to click to view the original or preview translation. This downloads the file in its original format, so and opens it in whatever application is fit for the given format. So that's for preview. Other than that, there are no preview functions. For working offline, this is something that I haven't mentioned because, as I said at the very beginning, this was not meant as a general introduction into Memsource, but we actually have 2 translation platforms, 2 translation editors. We call one of them Web Editor, and we refer to the other one as Memsource Desktop Editor. The Web Editor is available from your project or the linguist's project. By clicking on a file, it gets opened in the editor. The other option is you can download a bilingual MXLIF file, save that locally, and then open in what we call Desktop Editor. The Desktop Editor is a standalone application that is a free download. So if we go to download Memsource, we will get to the download page, where, as you can see, Memsource Editor is a free download for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Again, I'm going to share this with all of you. And this is where you can download and install the editor. It's really a lightweight application which will not take more than about 15 megabytes on your disk space. Here, as you can see, you open the file for translation, and these indicators here say that you're not connected to the server. Therefore, you can translate, obviously. So let me maybe copy source to target in a few segments, or all of them. Let's do that in the whole file. And you don't really get any results from the translation memory and from Termbase, but you can work offline. And then when you come online, which in this case will mean I will get connected by entering the correct credentials. Okay, let's not the one. And that should be okay. So now you see the indicators turn green, sorry for this. And we are fully connected to the account. Now this content will get synchronized automatically in about 30 seconds, or as an alternative you can click in document upload to server to get the whole content synchronized manually. If we go to the project now and refresh the page, you will see that the progress will change to 100% because that's what we have done in the editor. We translated the whole content by, in this case, copying source to target and confirming. So I hope, Wolfram, that this answered your question about working offline. Obviously, if I go offline, which I will imitate here by using an incorrect password, again, the indicators turn red. I stop receiving results from the project, from the cloud. I stop sending my work to the cloud, but I can definitely continue working offline. Jesper asked if there is any outlook to fix the problem of opening, for example, 500 files in the web editor. Yes, I very much hope that this has already been fixed for our next release. Let me just take a note here, and I will contact you separately on this after the session ends. To explain what Jesper mentioned or asked, we have two files here. We can, in fact, have a couple of thousand files here in a project that can be assigned to one person. If you click on each of them separately, you open each document in a separate window. So if I want to work on the chimpanzee document, I just click on that one and open it in one window of web editor, or I can download it as a separate MXLIF file to be edited in the desktop editor. Another option, if I want to work on more files together, is to select more of them. In this case, you can select both. And then if you click on either of the two, or if you download a MXLIF file, you get this option to join files, which would join both into a single MXLIF file. In Web Editor, it works like you select and then click on one of them, and you open both files in one window. So as you can see, this is the non-translated content of the first file. And then we will soon come to the second file, which has already been translated, and that's the one. That's the one where we copied source to target in the desktop editor. Now, if this page makes it possible to display 100 jobs, if you have more than 100 files in your project and you click to select all, you will get an extra button here, an extra tick box here, which will say select all. Now, we discovered a bug that if you selected, for example, 500 jobs and then clicked on to open them all in one instance, you actually got only 100 files opened. We are working on a fix, and definitely the way to avoid this is to download an MXLIF file, sorry for this, and work in desktop editor, which will join all 500, 600, any number of files into one MXLIF. Jesper also asked if the desktop editor synchronizes by itself at interval. Yes, there are several instances when the content gets synchronized. For example, if I edit this segment and I confirm, that gets synchronized immediately. If I do not confirm, for example, then the editor keeps a cache for a certain period of time, which is, I believe, 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then the content gets synchronized. So even without confirming or without touching anything, the content gets synchronized if you have a window open and you're connected, which is not the case here. When is the next release expected? Maybe also that's a good question, and I can show you how that works. If when you subscribe to Memsource, you will start receiving newsletters from us. We try not to bother you with too many of them. Usually send out 1 or maximum of 2 per month, and the newsletter always includes a notice of our next planned maintenance, which typically happens once a month on a Sunday morning European time. This information is also repeated on the sign up page when it comes near to the maintenance window. So as you can see, if you go and sign into Memsource Cloud, now you will get this next scheduled maintenance planned for the 31st of May. Another question from Anne. When translator has finished, what is the way we could avoid receiving notifications for each file? I don't really think there is a way to avoid this. The only way would be to tell your translator not to give you these, not to change the status, I mean, therefore not to generate the notification, and only change the status for the whole package when all 10 files in your project, for example, are finished. So the translator can go select more files and then change. I mean, the buttons are slightly different for the translator, but basically the translator does the same. Like here, you change the status to completed. So if you don't want to receive notifications for each file separately, then ask your translator not to change the status to completed file by file, but do this for the whole package. On the other hand, if, for example, you have a scenario of 2 workflow steps, translation and revision, and there is a reviser assigned to the job and waiting for the translator to finish, that when the translator clicks to complete a job, that not only sends a notification to the project manager, but also to the person assigned to the next step. So if you go to email templates under setup, you will see next step ready. Sorry, my speaking ability has gone to some lower quality now. So next step ready is when the reviser or proofreader receives a notification that they can go and start working on the job, and then you will need a notification to be sent. Is it possible to download the TM as well to be used on the desktop editor? No, that's not possible. I mean, the project manager can obviously download the translation memory and maybe share it with another tool. It's the standard TMX format, of course, but the translation memory cannot be uploaded into the desktop editor. So the desktop editor really works as a connector, if you like, to your project on the cloud, but not as a full-featured CAT tool editor, in terms of it cannot have offline translation memories or offline term bases. Okay, there's no more questions so far. Oh yes, one has arrived, one more. Can you show me how to make or set up settings file for customized XML, which has customized DTD file? And how can share this specific setup with vendor or translator? Okay, maybe I'll just share the questions box with you so that you can read this question as well, because it's a longer one. The XML settings, I mean, what you're talking about is a data file, which has its separate section in the file import settings. For the DTD files, these, if I understand it correctly, these are standard configuration files that define how the data file will be processed, and you don't need to import these into Memsource or anyhow refer to them, because they are standard for the whole format, and they will be automatically applied to the file in question. If you want to process your file as XML, you have the option to define the elements and attributes and then inline elements, etc. You can also convert certain content into Memsource text, for example, using regular expression rules. And you can either use a plain filter or the XPath one. Now, these settings can be saved in your project template. So if you need to reapply the same settings again in order to avoid having to write in manually all the data again and again, you simply save this project as a template, and then these settings will be applied to each next file you upload. The second part of your question, how can you share the specific setup with your vendor or translator? You don't really need to, because once you create a project and you apply your file import settings to the documents you're importing, the documents get imported, segmented, pre-processed and ready for translation, and then you share this whole project, including the file and including the way it was imported. So there is no way or no reason you would need to share this, except when you would like to advise maybe your vendors how they could themselves import similar files if they had the need. And that is possible as well through the project sharing step. So I hope I have answered this question. If not, then Martin, please contact us separately, and we can have a look at this problem just individually. Okay, so we have just about 5 minutes left. I'll wait if I receive any more questions. In the meantime, Lars, if you would like to add anything, please feel free to do so. One more question has arrived, which says, I can see a job board button. Will any more specific information be given about that? We have presented this in one of our previous webinars. Basically, if I just very quickly tell you what this is about, it makes it possible to publish information about your project on what we call job board and send a notification to other users in Memsource, and this way you can look for your potential partners, translators from within Memsource community. This is really the brief introduction, and I will send you the details by email later on. Okay, Lars, it's over to you if you feel you would like to say something to end this session.
Yes, thank you. I guess there are no more questions then.
None have arrived so far.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Václav, for this great presentation. It's been very detailed and very, I've learned a lot. I hope you all have.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you for participating, and we really hope that you've learned a lot today as well, and now have a good basic understanding of not basic, but quite detailed actually, in understanding Memsource and how you can benefit both the organization and our mutual collaboration using Memsource. And remember that you can use your subscription to Memsource for other clients and vendors, as Vasav explained, and not only TextMinded. Though of course we prefer that you always prioritize our projects above others, but we can't guarantee that. If you have further questions about Memsource and how we can collaborate using Memsource, please do not hesitate to call me and send me an email, or you can ask Vasav for technical questions. I'll of course send you a follow-up email as well with the link for the recording of this webinar, and you're welcome to share that with your colleagues. Also, I'd like to just briefly advertise for the Linguist webinar next Wednesday.
That's right. I was going to say that, but thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, next Wednesday, same time. The link was included in the PDF letter we sent you earlier, and I'll of course include it in my email as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much for joining, and yeah, have a nice day.
Okay, just to add to this, thank you, Lars. Just to add to this webinar next week would really focus on the linguist's side of the story and point of view. So we will be looking at details about how to use Memsource Web Editor and Memsource Editor, and how to manage files and run quality assurance checks and basically receive and deliver the service. So there won't be too much about actually sharing projects, because that's not what the linguist is really involved in any way. Okay, so thank you once again for attending, and have a nice rest of the day. I hope you will enjoy your Memsource experience, and you will find Memsource a tool that will help you move forward, maybe improve the quality of your services, and make your translation experience even more pleasant than it is now. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.